Hey YouTubers, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tony the Technician. Today we're going to be going back into the Harbor Freight website and checking out some of their new tools. So I usually like to do these videos every 2-3 weeks. Well, not gonna lie, since the last time we did one of these new Harbor Freight tool videos, they haven't added a whole lot. So today's video is going to be a little bit shorter. We do have a couple good items that we're going to discuss a little bit further than normal. But I think it's going to be some good content. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments if you have purchased any of these new items that have recently been released, or if you would consider purchasing them. First up, we see this Icon Extended Reach Ratcheting Serpentine Belt Toolkit, a very popular, simple product made by many different brands, and they can be quite affordable to quite expensive. This price is pretty good, but there are some things to be aware of. So this is at $60, which I think is a great price for a ratcheting version of this. You can get versions of the Serpentine belt tool that are non-ratcheting, and while you're not really using this tool to ratchet a whole lot, it can help in extremely tight situations and awkward angles. That ratcheting feature can be very helpful. Plus, you're getting a lot of additional pieces here. You have your extension for kind of a bend or an angle that you really need to get at. You have your adapters here for 3/8 and 1/2 inch sockets, and then they include 6 sockets here, as well as 3 crow's foot pieces as well, and then a nice little blow molded case with metal latches and removable pins for the hinges on the back, so you can kind of take the lid off and you can lay it in your drawer. So overall, I think it's a really nice little kit. At $60, I think it could come down a little bit. And I only say that because when you look at this, they compare it to the Lyle at $69 basically. So you're basically getting this for almost $10 cheaper. Here's the Lyle 5900. The exact same design as what we're looking at as far as that Icon set. You have your ratcheting mechanism, your extension for more of an angle, your 6 sockets, and your 2 adapters there for 3/8 and 1/2 inch drive. The only thing that you're not getting with this kit are the 3 crow's foot. So really identical sets. This one being just under $63, the Icon being $60, so $3 more basically, roughly. But this Lyle one is actually made in the USA. And as far as I can tell, all the research of what I see on here, there's nothing that states made in the USA or anything like that. Usually if something's made in the USA, you can find it pretty easily. So I'm not saying this is a bad deal, but you're basically saving $3 and you're getting a couple crow's foot attachments. Or you can get the USA made Lyle one and get basically the same set. I think I would prefer the USA made one over this. Just my personal preference, even though it doesn't include the 3 crow's feet. I'm okay with that. So I think if they're going to compare it to a Lyle, that they should probably consider their pricing before. For one, this isn't a huge price savings anyways, but when you actually look at the tool that is basically identical to this, it's even less. And you may find out things, and it's not just this tool. It's many other tools, you know, at Harbor Freight. It's always worth doing your research. So even when you think it's a fantastic deal, just double check other places. Just something I wanted to throw in there. But just some of the information on this. Here's the product overview. 17.5 inches long, 21 tooth reversible ratcheting mechanism, 6-point sockets, crow's foot attachments. There you can see the sizes that are included. But let's go ahead and move on to the next item. So here we have the Bauer 6.3 amp 1/2 inch variable speed drill. This is $35. So Harbor Freight has quite a few of these corded ones. And if you're looking for a drill like this for very affordable, you're not looking at cordless tools or anything like that. Like I needed back in the day hammer drill for drilling through some tile, something that I definitely was not going to be doing very often. At the time, the drill I had did not have the hammer feature, so I didn't want to spend a ridiculous amount of money until I was ready to just buy a new drill altogether. So I actually went there and I picked up this Chicago Electric for $25. I think it was probably $20 at the time. This was almost 10 years ago. They also have the Warrior, and then you can see some of the other ones that they have available. Well, this is a little bit nicer than the Chicago Electric that I have. It is the same 6.3 amp and they do look almost identical. A little bit different housing here at the front, the aluminum housing, but overall I like that Bauer and Hercules are kind of filling in those gaps, so you don't necessarily have to go with the cheapest of the cheap. You can get a little bit better quality stuff for not such outrageous pricing. Now keep in mind, this is a corded tool. It's not going to be nearly as expensive as a cordless tool. If you're looking for something like this and you don't mind that it's corded, maybe you're just going to be doing a job, every now and then, I've probably used that drill that I purchased 2 times in the last 10 years. For one, I have a couple hammer drills now. I don't need that one, but I can't really get myself to get rid of it because technically there's nothing wrong with it. While it's not the best drill in the world, it's buried in my drawer somewhere that I can use it in the future if for some reason I ever need it. Next up, they have the Viking 1.5 amp 6 and 12 volt onboard battery maintainer for $30 from Viking. So this is a pretty good deal. $30 is very respectable for a battery maintainer of this size. Keep in mind, a battery maintainer is a very low amperage charger. It's a little bit safer than quick charging a battery. And basically, if you're just going to have your vehicle parked, like my Camaro over the wintertime, it sits for months on end without me starting it. That is something I would use this for, because my Phytech EFI has a constant draw on the battery. So I either unhook the battery, but even if you unhook it, it is best to at least keep a maintainer on it because it's going to keep the health of that battery up. And these are just really handy. You have a boat or, like a camper or anything that you may have batteries in that isn't being used all the time or may sit for months on end. A battery maintainer is going to be a great thing to own, especially at $30. It's a great deal. But you also have to keep in mind they have other ones available as well. They have very, very basic ones. But I think this Viking 4 amp fully automatic microprocess controlled battery charger and maintainer for $38. I feel like this is the way to go, truthfully. 6 and 12 volt high frequency battery charger maintainer. The quick disconnects. There's some of the information on it. Now, granted, this is not the new item, but I figure for the price, $38, I would pay the extra $8. You have a nice little digital readout display here as well. Whereas the other one, you're just going to kind of get some LED lights to let you know what's going on, as you can see here. So while this product, I'm sure, is definitely still worth the $30, I think I would spend the extra $8 to get the kind of step up from this one. The new Hercules 20 volt cordless 14 gauge double cut metal shears. This is the tool only without battery for $130. They do have a Bauer version of it for quite a bit cheaper. So Hercules is like their top of the line cordless tools. Bauer is right below that. And then you get into kind of the Chicago Electric and Warrior and the lower end stuff. And normally Bauer's and Hercules are fairly close in pricing. Hercules is always just a little bit more expensive because you're getting a little bit better quality stuff. But this is one tool that isn't priced similarly. So the Hercules one being at $130. Now it is good for 14 gauge steel and stainless up to 16 gauge. So obviously stainless is a little bit harder to cut and drill through. A little bit thinner as far as stainless work, but still not bad at all. I'm not really one that would ever use something like this. I've used an air nibbler and it worked just fine for anything that I needed it to, very thin stuff. This is going to be for a little bit thicker stuff, but there is an $80 price difference between the Bauer and the Hercules. And I tried to go through and kind of look at the difference between the two. And obviously the Bauer is 18 gauge steel, so you're getting, a little bit heavier duty build here. It's a little bit tougher, but I don't know if it's quite worth the $130. I know it compares here to the DeWalt, but I would almost just go with the Bauer corded version and deal with the cord, then spend, even over this one, double the price of the Bauer corded, and this one will work just fine with 14 gauge stuff as well. Otherwise, I think the Bauer is probably the better route to go. But if you're using these all the time, I don't know what kind of profession you'd be in. I'm sure you're probably not going to Harbor Freight for this specific tool if it's something that you use all the time. So if you're getting one of these because you do a decent amount of DIY work, or you come across this in your occupation a few times where you need to cut, sheet metal and stuff, I feel like the Bauer is the better route to go. If you can sacrifice the difference in thickness from 18 gauge to 14 gauge, or can you justify the $80 price difference between the two? Is it worth it? Like I said, I'm not one that uses a tool like this. Anytime that I've had to cut sheet metal and I didn't use like tin snips, I was just using an air nibbler and it worked just fine. But obviously there are other occupations or things that you may be doing more often as a DIY or weekend warrior than what I do, and this may be worth it to you. I'd really like your guys' input down in the comments, your thoughts on this one versus the Bauer. And then they have another Predator generator released. We're not going to go too in depth into this. This is just 4,550 watt inverter generator with CO secure technology. This one is at $700. They have a ton of different Predator generators. $700, I don't think that's a bad deal at all. I've heard a lot of good things about the Predator lineup. Then they have the Braun 250 lumen rechargeable LED pen light with the UV light for $23, which I don't think is a bad deal at all, especially if you're one that would be using the UV light. I think that can be very handy when looking for leaks and such. Obviously not something a whole lot of people are doing, but if you're in the professional field, the Braun stuff is, to me, any of them that I've used have felt to be good quality and haven't really had any issues with them. So I think for a pen light like this, being rechargeable, I think $23 is a good light. Then you got some more microfiber towels from Grants. These are going to be for streak-free glass cleaning. Then you have clog-resistant job site permanent markers, 2-pack for $2. And then we get into where we were at on the previous video when we went over Harbor Freight's new tools. And I'm still digging this US General purple that they've included on the full bank service cart, as well as the 3-ton Daytona jack. I think that's pretty sick. If my jack ever starts leaking or has an issue, that will be the one I'll be getting. So just something about, I think it's real eye-catching and looks good. So let me know your guys' thoughts on today's video and the new tools that they've released at Harbor Freight. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, make sure to smash that thumbs up. Leave a comment down below of your guys' thoughts on these. And as always, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. See you guys next time.